Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If we could take our seats, that would be great. We will begin our program and get dinner underway. Good evening. Maine, hello. Hello. I'm not sure I've ever been applauded for hello, but thank you. Thank you. It's good. Before I even say my name is Danny Williams. Good evening. I am the executive director at the Collins Center for the Arts. And I have such a spiel when I get up. I feel like I need to tell you when intermission is. I feel like I'm supposed to tell you how long the show's going to go. That food and drink are allowed in the auditorium, but please visit Miller's Cafe during the intermission. Yes, that gets applause from table 10. You'll understand that in a little while. My first official duty here this evening is to really introduce you to the man who's kind of behind all of this, and that is Tom Pico. I can tell you that having been on campus now pushing 37 years, I've seen lots of people come and lots of people go, and I can tell you that Tom's arrival here nearly 2 years ago has had almost an instant impact. He has really made a difference in a very, very short period of time. We are so lucky to have him here as the president and CEO of the University of Maine Alumni Association. He comes to us from the University of Maine, having received his bachelor's degree in business in 1988. Tom enjoyed a successful career in the nonprofit world. Most notably, he was the executive director for Make-A-Wish Maine for 18 years, and then 7 years as the president and CEO of the Penobscot Bay Chamber of Commerce. We are so fortunate that Tom returned to his alma mater, again, as president and CEO of the University of Maine Alumni Association back in July of 22. So he's coming up on his second anniversary, but it feels like he's been here a lot longer. And that I don't mean that to sound negative. Boy, it feels like he's been here a long time. That is to say, he has absorbed himself into the fabric of the University of Maine seamlessly. Please welcome Tom Pico.
So please continue eating. The dinner service is going to start. I'm not going to talk for too long, but I do have some folks I want to introduce to you and some sponsors to thank. But thank you to all of you for being here tonight. I just wanted to start by reminding you, which I think you all know, there's no better measure of the value of the University of Maine education and experience than our alumni. From coast to coast and around the world, the 100,000 plus alumni of the University of Maine are making their communities and our world a better place in countless ways, thanks in large part to the education and relationships that they built here at the University of Maine. Thanks for joining us tonight as we shine a light on a few of the countless alumni, faculty, and friends who help to perpetuate the positive impact of the University of Maine. I'd like to take a moment to have all of you in the room who are an alum of the University of Maine, please stand and be recognized. Great. And if you're here every day or you haven't been here in years, let me say to you, welcome home to the University of Maine. We're glad to have you here. As you might know, the University of Maine Alumni Association is a separately incorporated nonprofit organization, and we exist to strengthen the University of Maine by inspiring lifelong connection, passion, and engagement among our alumni community. Tonight is one of many examples of the ways that we do that. We have literally in the last year traveled from Maine to Florida to California as recently as last weekend, Karen Kemble can tell you, and many places in between to engage thousands of alumni in person at our events and also organize homecoming and other on-campus activities to bring countless alums home to Orono. We've returned to our alumni travel program, and Joyce Kennedy is in the room, and I know she went with a group of 2 or 3 dozen folks to Iceland, excuse me. Yeah, Iceland, not Ireland. So, but we do have more alumni travel trips planned too, as other ways to engage our alums, and we encourage you to check our website to learn more about that. I'm excited to share next year, 2025, will serve as the 150th anniversary of the University of Maine Alumni Association. So, we were founded in 1875, just 10 years after the founding of the university itself. And we look forward next year to celebrating that milestone with all of you throughout the year. There's a number of people present tonight that I want to introduce to you. In a little bit later, President Freeney Mundy will be with us, and you'll be hearing from her after dinner. So we look forward to having her and Rick join us. I did want to acknowledge the presence, and we appreciate having the Dean and President of the Maine Law School, Lee Softly, with us tonight. Thank you very much for being here. So, yes. So, we have a number of members of our academic leadership at the University of Maine here. I'll save your applause until I recognize all of them. Our Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost, John Vollen, is with us. You can stand as I call your name. So hold your applause. I know everybody wants to clap for the Provost, but yes, right, exactly. The enthusiasm is terrific. So from the College of Education and Human Development, Dean Penny Bishop is with us tonight. From the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, Dean Emily Haddad. From the Maine Business School, Dean Jason Harkins is with us, or was. He may have had to, yes, he is still here, terrific. From the Honors College, Dean Ellen Weinauer is with us. And from UMaine Cooperative Extension, Dean Hannah Carter is with us tonight. So thank you all for being here and for all that you do for the University of Maine. So we have a number of faculty in the room, many of whom are former distinguished Maine professors, and we'll meet them later in the program tonight when we get ready to present tonight's award. Our partners at the University of Maine Foundation, I want to make sure that you know that they're here, including President and CEO Dr. Jeffrey Mills and members of his team, including Joyce Kennedy, Pat Cummings, Sarah McPartland-Good, Liz Erickson, Karen Kemble, and Hannah Young, I believe all with us tonight. So thank you all for being here. So, we're pleased to welcome from the Board of Trustees of the University of Maine System, Emily Kane. So thank you for being here tonight. Members of our UMaine Alumni Association Board of Directors, including our board chair, Teresa Lee, our immediate past chair, Julia Muncy. You can stand, yeah. Our vice chair, Nate Wilds. And then members Ashley Briggs, Ethan Tremblay, Liz Downing, Charles Stanhope, and John Simpson. And ex officio members include Jeff Mills, President Freeney Mundy, Bob Strang is with us tonight. And I will I'll also thank you all, but I'm also going to introduce our student government reps here in a minute, but they also have a seat on our board. But thank you to our board members here tonight. Our leaders of the University of Maine student government are with us tonight. Outgoing President Michael DeLorge, incoming President Keegan Tripp, and incoming Vice President Memphis Peterson. Would you all please stand and be recognized? Thanks for being here. We do want to congratulate Michael DeLorge as well for being co-valedictorian of the class of 2024. So since the pandemic, we have worked to reinvigorate our Student Alumni Association, and we're thrilled to have a few members here with us tonight, including Student Alumni Association President Griffin Souther and members Hannah Batchelder and Ryan Boulay. So we'd love to have you stand and be recognized, and thank you for your help tonight. And last, I'm really not introducing the entire room. I know it feels that way, but one last group, and a very important group because they've been working hard to pull this event together for you, our Alumni Association staff, which includes Director of Alumni Programs Ashley Twombly, Alumni Programs Associate Rebecca Huffstetler, Director of Alumni Communications Ken Afari, Marketing and Engagement Associate Cade Wortman, and Operations Manager Erica Wolf. Those are members of our staff present tonight. So, thank you all for your tremendous work on behalf of the Alumni Association. We want to thank our sponsors now, which we're going to see up on the screen here, which is terrific. So our award sponsors, we could not do this event without all of our sponsors, and we appreciate the support of the Fitch Company, Flight Deck Brewing, Bangor Savings Bank, Northern Light Eastern Maine Healthcare, Eastern Maine Medical Center, the University of Maine Foundation, Charles Stanhope, and WBRC. Thank you all for being award sponsors tonight to make these possible. And our supporting sponsors for this evening include Bangor International Airport, Flight Deck Brewing is our beer sponsor, and I think you enjoyed a complimentary flight deck if you were so inclined on the way in, and Cellador Winery for providing the wine on the table tonight. So we thank all of them for their support for this event. Finally, a brief recognition before we break for dinner. In December of last year, our Alumni Association Board of Directors was inspired to create the honorary role of President Emeritus of the University of Maine Alumni Association, which is an honor that the board can bestow upon an individual who has served admirably in the role of President and CEO of the Alumni Association for at least 5 consecutive years prior to their retirement. Once the board took action to create this honorary role, they immediately followed by voting unanimously to bestow this newly created honor on John Diamond. And we are honored to have our President Emeritus, John Diamond, with us tonight. And John, I'd love to have you come forward. So we have a certificate for John, excuse me, and a name tag that you can wear. You were looking for a name tag on the way in, and now you have one. So, but you don't really need it because everybody knows who you are. But let's get a photo here. Let me step down. Absolutely. So that is the best title you can have, lots of honor and no responsibilities, right? So isn't that terrific, right? So great. Well, enjoy your dinner, and we'll be back with you after dinner, and look forward to a great evening with you. Thank you all for being here. Welcome back. We're glad to have you all here. I know some of you are still working on dinner, and you continue right along, and we're going to continue with the program. So we're honored to have with us the 21st president of the University of Maine and our campus also at the University of Maine at Machias. Joan Freeney-Mundy joined us in July of 2018, so it'll be 6 years coming up this summer that she has been with us here, and she's also, during her time here, added the role of Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation for the University of Maine system. She's been a terrific partner with us at the Alumni Association, and we're honored to have her with us tonight. Please welcome President Joan Freeney-Mundy.
I feel badly that I missed the reception and didn't get the chance to chat, but I'm going to wander and hope that I could say hello as the evening goes on. Let me begin by welcoming all of the distinguished guests who are here. Thank you for being here. I know that we have a number of faculty and staff, we have student leaders, we have very distinguished alums, and of course we have our honorees for tonight. And I couldn't be more pleased than to be able to congratulate everyone who is receiving an award this evening. You've heard me say before how much I love these events because it feels like we are sort of surrounded by support and positivity and encouragement for the University of Maine when you all come together. So many very generous donors and supporters, so many alums who love this university. It's always wonderful to be able to be with you and to be together, and so I thank you for that. My notes said I was to give a little bit of a brief update on the university. A lot about that is actually quite visible. If you've driven through the university, you can see so much of what is changing here, and that's emblematic, I think, of the path that we are on to just continue our movement toward excellence and growing areas that are already quite strong here. We are 1 week away from commencement. I have very precise numbers here about that. 1,768 undergraduates walking at commencement, 503 graduate students, and we hood all of the graduate students, so that's a very robust ceremony. 70 students at UMaine Machias, and always important to remind ourselves about our partners at the University of Maine at Machias, our regional campus, and how well things are going there as Machias is building its enrollments and building its strength and programmatic depth. This has been quite an amazing year, as they all seem to be here, with the great support that we have from all of you and the great engagement. Just a couple of highlights. The Factory of the Future. Did some of you see that in the news this week? It's been a big deal for us. Yet again, the world's biggest 3D printer for the second time. Very exciting. We unveiled this. It's more accurately called UMaine's Additive Manufacturing Factory, unveiled on the 23rd of this month with Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering Heidi Shue present. And we had a wonderful day with Undersecretary Shue. She visited ASCC, she met with a range of faculty from across the university, and was just full of ideas for how the work here can benefit the nation. And we had excellent interactions with her, and she was a math major, which I thought was the coolest thing about the whole thing, because I was too. This new printer, which was dramatically unveiled to the Stein song, actually, which was quite cool. And they had it kind of moving around on its track as the Stein song played, and I felt it was a little flat, like we needed to sing, and it wasn't an audience that really knew the Stein song. A lot of federal officials and a lot of business partners. Anyway, but the whole Stein song played start to finish, and we watched that thing move around, and I was terrified that the tracks on which it sat were somehow not tightened carefully enough, you know, but it's amazing. It is a thermoplastic polymer printer that can manufacture objects as large as 96 feet by 32 feet wide and 18 feet high. So it will be able to manufacture boats of great size, seaworthy vehicles, unmanned vehicles. The potentials are incredible. And the science is fascinating as well, along with the engineering. It's heavily AI based. And so the AI is basically designed in so that there can be constant checking on parameters and accuracy and quality of the print, and that can be adjusted as they go because of the database that's available and the models that are there. So that was a very big event for us, quite exciting. Earlier this year, the Harold L. Fund Foundation announced $80 million in financial support toward facilities improvements to benefit all 17 varsity athletic programs, our D1 programs here at the University of Maine. I think we should do applause for that. That's a big deal. That is in addition to their $90 million gift for University of Maine athletics. Tremendous philanthropy from that organization, as well as from the donors who are part of the match process, the challenge grants that we are working to bring in. The support will include a 13,000-foot square addition to the Sean Walsh Center, renovated strength and conditioning facilities, a new film room, recovery rooms, team offices, expanded locker rooms and team lounges, and a 4,900 square foot expansion to Alfond Arena. And the additions to the Alfond Arena are anticipated to be completed in fall of 2024. So we are moving along. If you've, of course, observed athletics this year, it's just been amazing, particularly men's ice hockey and women's basketball advanced to NCAA, in both cases. And it's just been galvanizing for the campus, I think. Students, don't you think? I mean, it's just brought a level of excitement among the students in particular, but a level of visibility into the lives and work of our student athletes who are so amazing, so disciplined, so skilled, and just such wonderful members of our community. So that's been exciting. Hotel Ursa, anybody staying there? All right, how is it so far? Charles, is it okay? All righty, great. And so the soft opening was about a month ago. Actually, Rick and I stayed there. He had to go home and feed the dog and put the trash out. But other than that, it was just lovely and just sparkling. New look for our very important historic buildings here. And I know Trustee Kane, I hope you had a chance, where'd you go? I hope you've had a chance to get a look, or will soon, because I know that Trustee Kane actually worked in those buildings once upon a time, and so did perhaps many others of you here. It's a joint venture of Radnor Property Group, LLC, which is a real estate development company, and Harrison Street, an investment management firm, and it is operated by Portland-based Olympia Hotel Management. The hotel includes Holmes Hall, Coburn Hall. It's a 20-foot and a new 24,800 square foot building that is adjacent to Holmes Hall. And these 3 buildings provide 95 hotel rooms and suites and just a lovely bistro cafe. So we are already hearing from faculty, staff, and students who are figuring out that they can kind of hide out in that cafe and hold meetings and get work done, and it's just been terrific. Really think this will bring us opportunities for the university as we can think in new ways about events that can be held here, the base that the university provides for both Central Maine and the coast, and new ways of bringing folks to this campus. The last thing I'd like to just mention, and we have more that we could speak about, is the Alphon Foundation funded research learning experiences. I've probably spoken to you about this before, but that just keeps growing. And the basic idea was that if we could engage first-year students in some authentic version of research or scholarship or creative activity, that would connect them in, that would hook them in. All the literature would suggest that that's the case. It can lead to agency and engagement and a feeling of belonging. And so under the leadership of Provost John Bolin, we have launched that, beginning here at the University of Maine, but for the entire University of Maine system. And I just want to tell you the numbers. In 22-23, there were 42 courses across the system. This year, in 23-24, more than 100 courses offered across the entire University of Maine system. So this has made its way out. It's across our system, with more than 1,000 students participating in the RLEs. So this is a great piece of evidence that our faculty and staff and students across the University of Maine system are benefiting from this Alphon Foundation funding, and also, we hope, getting involved right away with faculty in significant and meaningful projects, and it's, I think, something that can be a major distinction for our system as we go forward. Lots more happening. Again, I have clearly now interrupted whatever stage you are at in your eating, so I will stop. Thank you for being here. Congratulations to the awardees tonight, such important contributors to our community here, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Welcome to the 2024 UMaine Alumni Achievement Awards. Tonight, honoring Rising Star Award winner Kelsey Stoyanova, the Spirit of Maine Achievement Award winner Michael Shepard, the Folger Legacy Award recipients, the Morrison family, the Champion of UMaine Award winners John and Suzi Miller, our Suzanne K. Hart Alumni Service Award winner Meredith Strang Burgess, Distinguished Maine Professor Dr. Sandra Butler, and the Alumni Career Award winner, Dr. Jim Dill.
The Rising Star Award honors an alumnus who has graduated within the last 10 years and has exemplified UMaine's mission and values, has shown great loyalty to their alma mater, and enhanced the reputation of the university.
Kelsey's pretty extraordinary as a black bear. She has actually earned 3 degrees from the College of Education and Human Development, so we are extraordinarily proud of her. This is the Rising Star Award, but we like to think that Kelsey is pretty much already risen. I first had the opportunity to meet Kelsey, actually it was like my second day on the job, and I had the opportunity to attend the panel presentations for the candidates of Maine Teacher of the Year. I was immediately inspired by her. Kelsey's one of those people that goes above and beyond in everything that she does, and I think her commitment to UMaine, the college of her heart always, is true blue. And one of the ways that she shows that is reaching out to me, constantly offering support for how we prepare the next generation of teachers. She's filled with amazing ideas. Just being that role model, that person that our teacher candidates can look up to, that anyone aspiring to be an educator can look up to. I think that is one of the biggest legacies that she'll leave behind.
Kelsey will be remembered mostly by the impact she has had on students. When she was nominated, she was for Penobscot County Teacher of the Year. She was nominated by 2 students, and they talked about how she made them feel safe and seen. And unlike any of the other Teachers of the Year before her, she really faced a great deal of adversity, and she came through it with great character. She continued to lead, and she knew that she had a job to do, and I was just so proud of the way that she handled the adversity, and she was a professional, and she always took the high road, and I really appreciated and admired her and learned from her for that. She bleeds blue. She loves the University of Maine. I'm just very thankful that I am going to be along for her ride, because I can't wait to see where else she goes after this.
Kelsey was a student of mine when I used to teach at Bangor High School. She also came and did her student teaching at Bangor High School, not with me, but I was still part of her journey there and saw her as a brand new student teacher. Kelsey just exudes energy and enthusiasm. She is a wonderful teacher who really reaches out to students and connects with them in a very authentic way. Most exciting thing when I was principal here, and she was here too, was she was Maine Teacher of the Year. And again, seeing that journey of her being nominated by her students, which that in itself is such a huge honor that the kids nominated her. I mean, talk about a rising star. She is a true leader in the field of education, both in her classroom and outside of her classroom. She is very generous with her time, presenting at conferences, working with teachers, obviously working with students, and I think she truly is a rising star and will continue to do great things in the field of education.
Brian Lee, designer at the Fitch Company, will now present our Rising Star Award to Kelsey Stoyanova.
I was worried this wasn't going to be low enough for me, but I think we're okay. Thank you for this honor. I am continuously humbled by the tremendous community that I have alongside me. I specifically say alongside me and not behind me because while they would stand behind me, I need them alongside me because I feel like it's so important to have a community that you can share with your ideas, your vision, your values, and your mission. As a young girl, I did well in school, and I tended to think that success looked like straight A's and scratch and sniff stickers on all of my assignments. Solitary accomplishments seemed to be those that got the most attention. As I grew older, let's say high school, I found success was not measured by what others thought about what I did, but how I felt seeing the impact of my actions in the moments that I did for others. As an adult, though, I see my success as not what I can do by myself, but as the product of what I encourage others to do alongside me after I seize any moment possible, like this one today, to share the stories of those that could benefit from having others walk alongside them, hand in hand, toward opportunity, toward success. For me, as an educator of students, figuring out how to navigate the world and their place in it, it's sharing the dreams, the what-ifs, the needs of our future advocates, innovators, and change makers. For me, it's knowing that there is so much opportunity in this room right now to uplift our young people through sharing all of your ideas turned accomplishments and then listening to them and considering how you can lend your hand and your heart. Thank you to the Alumni Association for making tonight possible. Thank you to the Fitch Company for presenting the award, to Dean Bishop for believing in me from the first day that she met me, to Dolly, Caitlin, Jason, Educate Maine, and all of my Maine Teacher of the Year family, to Susan, my own teacher, turned boss, turned friend, and to my own family who's here to support me tonight, including my husband and my parents. One final story, a personal one. In addition to caring for hundreds of kids, students past and present, I am also the mom to the most inquisitive 5-year-old boy that you got to see in a few of those pictures. His name is Evander, and in his 5 short years, he has done so much to open my eyes as to why I am the right person to continue to walk this path, even in the face of adversity, even in the face of those who would say that I am just a teacher, and my only job is to teach students to write and to read. Not to say that reading isn't important, I would never. If you know me, you know a good book is the way to my heart. Everyone in this room hopefully knows that too, and has a book that means so much to them. I've never pushed Evander towards certain books, and I was always surprised that out of all of the books that he could choose to read, the bold, the lyrical, the bright, he always wanted to read Miss Rumphius by Barbara Cooney. He'd ask me questions about the Lupin Lady. Why did she do what she did? How did the world benefit from her spreading the lupin seeds? This seemingly simple act made possible by a seed catalog, we don't have those anymore, a flick of the wrist, and some strong traveling winds. What is the Lupin lady's legacy? For me, the light bulb moment came when she said, "You must do something to make the world more beautiful." With every opportunity, every story, every seed, I can only hope that I am doing just that. But no, it is only possible with all of you, the traveling winds, that I can. So this June, when you're traveling I-95 and you see the magic that is lupin season in Maine, I want you to ask yourself how you might be empowering our young people and how your wind might be just the push that they need. And if you need me, I'll be here waiting to offer you a seed to plant, a legacy to sow. Thank you so much for this.
A rising star indeed. Congratulations, Kelsey. The Spirit of Maine Achievement Award is given to an alumnus who has graduated within the last 15 years and has achieved a high level of professional, scholarly, or public success.
Michael Shepard was a student of mine in the capstone journalism class, CMJ 49 seminar in media ethics. Michael is inquisitive, he's smart, he is creative about how he thinks about media issues, and I think the most important thing is he's trustworthy. A lot of the politicians around the state of Maine know they can speak with him frankly. It was Michael, for instance, who got the scoop of when the Lewiston shooter episode ended. And that was because he was trusted by the politicians and the policemen in this state. He has a national reputation for excellence in journalism, and yet he's still here in Augusta. He hasn't gone on to take bigger jobs in New York or Chicago or Los Angeles because he loves this state. He's been a wonderful alum. He's come back to campus to be the Alan Miller Visiting Journalism Program invitee one year. He gave a talk, and he's willing to share his expertise in journalism and media with our students, which is really an important thing for alums. He's a real Mainer. He comes from down near Augusta. He knows the state well, he knows the university well, and he did really well here at UMaine, at the UMaine campus and in the journalism program.
Michael, over the past few years, has really set himself apart, I think, in his coverage and leadership of Maine politics. He really understands this topic in a way that few do. He understands the history. He's obsessed with learning more about it and obsessed with helping our audience understand it. He's also really good at training the next generation of reporters to cover this kind of stuff. And he has a lot of sense, he's a great sense of ownership over the topic, and he really cares about how we cover it and how the BDN is seen. Mike is definitely gonna be known for one of the greats to come from the Maine campus.
I've actually never met him in person that I know of, but I've followed his career since he was with the Maine campus and have communicated with him. But I would say I am a fan of his because of the great work he's done as a reporter and as a UMaine alum. Michael is an incredibly trustworthy and ethical person that radiates through the work he's done, both in print and when he has appeared in panels and in debates. He has all of the right characteristics that you would want in a journalism, and that is a commitment to the truth, a strong sense of ethics. His writing shows that he is somebody who researches the subject he's working on, that identifies and cultivates relationships with strong sources, and he puts things in context, both historical context and contemporary context, in a way that distinguishes him from a lot of journalists. I really think that he will be seen down the road as one of our most distinguished alums who, in terms of his career in journalism, he's doing things at an age that most career journalists don't accomplish, and I think that speaks incredibly well for him.
Please welcome Nate Wilds, co-founder of Flight Deck Brewing, who will now present the Spirit of Maine Achievement Award to Michael Shepard.
I was worried this wasn't going to be high enough, and I was right. So thank you very much to the association and to the people who nominated me. Michael Sokolow was my favorite journalism professor. I hope there are no other journalism professors here. Still true. John Diamond, who has done such great work in so many capacities here, and really one of the first people I think of when I think of UMaine. So John deserves our appreciation as well. I've also got to especially thank my wife Hannah. We're here exactly 2 weeks after having our first child. Thank you. Thank you. Her name is Lena, and she's back at the Hotel Ursa, with my mother-in-law, and many people have wanted to see her much more than me, so this is a great departure. It's also our first non-baby outing, so I feel very stimulated right now. It's always great to be back in Orono. I get up here quite a bit, but I had such a great academic experience here. Far more valuable, though, was those 2 years at the Maine campus. It's really where I learned how to do everything. At the BDN, I've covered sensitive politicians. Emily, I'm not thinking of you. At least I wasn't at the time, but maybe you might have been mad at me at some point. She gave me a hug when I came in, so I think we're okay. Paula Page, the pandemic, tragedies. I'm not equating all those things. I don't think I'd be able to succeed in any of these capacities, though, without the perspective and accountability that I gained at the campus. We had to teach journalism to students while being students ourselves. We had to explain why we do things, explain ourselves to subjects, treat people well, and make amends when things go wrong. And I think that is so much of what journalism needs to be. Since then, I've seen reporting as a trust exercise, right? Reporters and editors, they need to win the trust of their sources, even if they're pissing off civic leaders or different segments of their readership every day, as we do. You have to trust yourself enough to be able to reflect reality to your readers, which isn't easy to do when you're a trained skeptic. You're skeptical of everyone, including yourself. None of this matters, though, without an audience, and that's where a lot of you come in. Local journalism is not lucrative. It's barely solvent, actually. It's beginning to rely heavily on support from donors and foundations. Of course, we need subscribers to sustain our business, but we also need feedback, tips, and perspectives. We need people to flag corrections. So please engage with us even when we make you mad. And this is really important for all of us. Our civil society will probably succeed without local journalism, but it will be a lot less civil. And it will be just one less forum for people to convene, debate the issues, the most important issues facing us. And this is what keeps me doing the work that I love. And this place is one of the big reasons that I'm still doing it. So thank you for this honor. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
The Folger Legacy Award is presented to a family with at least 3 generations here at UMaine, with a strong tradition of service to the university, the Alumni Association, their community, or profession.
I met Alola when we both became members of Pi Beta Phi sorority our freshman year. I was also a classmate of Joe's, and so knew him too. And I saw them become college sweethearts and then get married a couple years after they graduated. She went on to become a dietitian and received recognition for that. Joe was an educator, and he became principal of Mary Snow School and for many years, and was also involved with the University of Maine teacher training program. And if you look at what they've accomplished, they have all put their University of Maine education to good use.
Well, I met the Morrison family through Alola, who was a member of the class of 1959. She came as a volunteer for our executive committee. She's a very spirited lady at her age. Her father and her mother were co-presidents in 1931 of their class. After they graduated, they were married a couple of years later, and he joined the Coast Guard, and he served 31 years in the Coast Guard. I think it was in 1946, a Belgian aircraft crashed in Newfoundland, and the Coast Guard was called upon, and he was called upon, to form a group to go up to rescue the survivors, if they were any. They took the helicopters apart and sent them up in other planes, and they had to be reconstructed on site. Well, obviously, Alvin Griffin had an important role in doing that, and he received a citation from the Belgian government for his heroic work and the use of his mechanical engineering experience. There are a lot of apples that fall from the tree in the family. I'm delighted that they have received the award. It's been very pleasant and an honor to our class, 1959.
Bear pair, okay, bear pair. All right. My husband was Joseph Morrison, and he was a ATO, and I was a Pi-Phi. And we had one class together, Modern Society. Gosh, I thought he was handsome. But he sat in front of me, great big tall guy, and I was a short guy. And anyway, we didn't start dating until the following year. On 1961, we became man and wife. At Bedford Air Force Base, we had 3 children. Mark and Ken and Cheryl all went with us up to Maine events, football games, fraternity house games. When I'm saying game, I'm talking about the Mud Bowl at ATO. The boys loved that idea, and they were hoping that when they get to be older, they could do that and roll right in the mud. It just really looked very tempting to them.
Where this really starts is with my grandmother's parents, Watson and Nellie Purrington. They had 4 children. My grandmother was the youngest of the 4, and in the 20s, Nellie and Watson put 4 kids to college. Bernice is a black bear, class of 25.
And a Pi-Phi.
And a Pi-Phi. Bill graduated in 27, her brother. Earl went to a different college, and then Viola went here to UMaine in
she was a class
of 31. And, you know, we're very proud of that. And they're the ones that really started this whole thing. It was a natural thing for us to come here at a very young age.
When it became time for the next generation, my son Kenny had his 2 children come up here, and our last one graduated in engineering, and his name is, we call him Little Joe. And his brother graduated the same year that his cousin, Mark's son, they graduated in 2017. So we have a lot of connection here, and the University of Maine is very important to us. I'm very, very proud.
Jacqueline Silk, Vice President at Bangor Savings Bank, who will now present our Folger Legacy Award to the Morrison family. Accepting the award this evening, Lola is here with her son, Mark.
I'm an old lady. I'm 86 years old, and my son is going to speak for the family. My grandchildren knew my mother and dad by my mother. My mother lived to be 103, and she was fortunate enough, and they were fortunate enough also, to know each other and to play games together, card games, whatever. And I'm very, very proud of my whole family. And I'm going to introduce them later on, but Mark's got a few words to say.
So I'd like to thank the university. So sorry. I'll get this right eventually. I'd like to thank the University of Maine for this special honor, the 2024 Folger Award. And it recognizes the Purringtons, the Giffins, and the Morrisons, 4 generations, 12 individuals who are part of this. It starts with our family member. Her name is Bernice Purrington, who is the older sister of my grandmother, Viola. She set foot on campus as a freshman in 1922. And then it ends, for right now, with Joe, who graduated last year in 2023. So that spans 101 years of a university that's been around for 159. My mom is very shy. So my grandparents, Viola Purrington and Alvin Giffen, were freshmen in 1927. 2 years later, the stock market crashed in 1929. They both graduated the class of 31 during the Great Depression. As my Coast Guard captain grandfather said, reflecting back, we graduated and started our lives with a bit of a headwind. That would be an understatement. But the University of Maine degree is really what allowed them to be successful and get through those tough times. We are a close family, as our bonds are deep, and we're also close due to proximity. We love the state of Maine. We all have chosen to reside here, raise our families here, and a key part of that is attending the University of Maine. And it's, as I was a young kid, we would come up here, we'd go to football games, we'd go to basketball games, and especially the hockey games. And it's so good to see the hockey team getting back on track. They've had some wonderful seasons, and it's good to see that we're on the right trail. We have wonderful memories forged here and have many wonderful people that we have met along the way, long-lasting friendships that will last a lifetime. These relationships are priceless and have been a source of much joy. So in many of us, it's been also the Greek experience. So this goes back to my grandmother, who was a Pi Beta Phi, my mother, a Pi Beta Phi, my grandfather, a Delta Tau Delta, my dad, an Alpha Tau Omega, my brother Ken, Alpha Tau Omega, and I was an Alpha Tau Omega as well. And those bonds are close, and we have great friendships there that keep us going. We still see each other today. So I will end with a quick story. When it was time for my son Greg to apply to universities, he only wanted to apply to one. And I told him he had to apply to two, at least 2 or 3, just in case UMaine wasn't in the cards for him. So he reluctantly agreed and was accepted at 2 other schools, and waited and waited. And in an exasperation, he said, "Dad, all I want to be is a black bear." Fortunately, a few weeks later, Greg gets the letter from Orono, and the rest is history. So what I'd like to do is turn it over to my mom, class of 59, and my dad, class of 59. And I will tell you, no one had a better mom growing up than me.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. And I'm not going to cry. There are many, many people that were very helpful in us going through the process of getting the award, and I appreciate Ducky and Don and Tom and the committee themselves. I appreciate that very much. Also, I made some executive decision here, and I have pictures. If you want to see my family, I'll introduce you in a minute, but on the we have tabled 12 and 13. in case you're interested. And on the tables are pictures of the deceased University of Maine graduates, along with parts of their family. So the mother there's a picture of my mother and her grandchildren. There's a picture of myself and my dad. There's a picture of my son and his family. So, and obviously all of them have not died, but I mean, I want to include the ones that have deceased, and that's how I try to do it. Well, I guess that's about it. Oh, I got to introduce my family now. Okay, let's start with Mark Giffen Morrison and his wife. Will you please stand, Candy? Putting up with my son has not been easy, I know that. And the next generation after Joe and I were, of course, Mark, and then his brother, and his brother died when he was 41. But he left behind 3 great kids, and 2 out of the 3 graduated from the University of Maine. And the black sheep, Lil, she graduated from a little college called St. Joseph College, right near to where I live in Standish. And she met a very nice gentleman by the name of Anthony Van. And they're going to be married in September. And then we have a new Morrison. We have a new Morrison bride. Connor was the oldest of my other son, Ken's 3 children. And Connor is now married to Kara, and they live in Saco. And he was a mechanical engineer. And then, let's see. Now, you all should be standing up, right? Right. And Greg graduated the same year that Connor did. There is Greg there. And he's going to be married in August. And she didn't go to the University of Maine. But we don't leave it. And she's his pharmacist. Her name is Sarah, of course. Sorry. Sarah, I'm sorry, Sarah. Now there's one more. Joe. We call him Little Joe, because, of course, his name for my husband. And he's a mechanical engineer. And he works for the same company. His big brother is working there. And he has a girlfriend, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. Alexia. And oh my God, I forgot my oldest granddaughter. Kristen, dear. Sorry. Kristen was the first one to graduate of the grandchildren in business, and she married a fine gentleman, but not University of Maine. He graduated from Husson. It can't all be Maine, right? And his name is Chris Byron, and they have 3 children. I guess that's it.
Now listen, if you missed any of that, table 12 and 13 that's where the after party's going to be. That is indeed a legacy. Congratulations. That is really something. The champion of UMaine recognizes the impact of a non-alumnus who continually supports and advocates for the University of Maine and its mission.
John and Suzi, as a unit, are a force. They have been so helpful to me individually and collectively at the Collins Center for the Arts. I think the word that comes to mind immediately is thoughtful. They're very considerate
about any number of topics, but especially when it comes to the Collins Center for the Arts, and especially when it comes to the cafe, Miller's Cafe, that we're in right now. In both instances, neither John nor Suzi attended the University of Maine, but they would both rival any and most alumni, their involvement with the institution. They are engaged, they are passionate, and they care about the University of Maine. They really, really do understand the importance of the University of Maine in our community and in our state.
Suzi and I first met when she worked in the Dean's office in the College of what is now Earth, Life, and Health. And from there, she moved into the president's office when President Ferguson was president of UMaine. And she was still in that office when I became president, and she stayed on to be the events coordinator as she had been. She did a great job setting up dinners and receptions and VIP tours. John and I have known each other for many years, having encountered one another at multiple UMaine events, many of them at the CCA, where he certainly has a special connection. So John and Suzi are dedicated UMaine supporters and donors, and they are very well deserving of this award, and I'm happy to congratulate them.
John and Suzi I find very fun to be around. I'd say that's one of the great characteristics of the two of them, especially together. A great sense of humor, and they care a lot about the community that they live in. Yeah, you often see John and Suzi at all the football games. They're usually up in Chip and Kelly Hutchins' football box, skybox, so we always see them there cheering on the university. And I think the thing that really comes to mind with this award is it's supposed to recognize those that have not attended the university, but realize that a great state has to have a great flagship university, and whether you attended the University of Maine or not, it's still your university. They are members of all three of our giving societies, so we call them Triple Crown members because of that. I would say one of the areas that probably you can see the legacy of their giving is with the family's gift of Miller's Cafe over in one of our more well-known facilities on campus, which is the Collins Center for the Arts. And so I think their legacy there, and for all the other gifts that they will give to the University of Maine, we thank them very much.
Greg Lefrancois, president of Northern Light Eastern Maine Medical Center, who will now present our Champion of UMaine Award to John and Suzi Miller.
After 7 years at the University of Maine system in Bangor, I started a position at the University of Maine in Orono. As I'm not an alum, it was the first time I experienced on a daily basis the amazing energy that exists on campus. I would tell John if people only knew what was happening on campus, they would be amazed. When I left UMaine after 15 years, it seemed only natural that John and I would stay connected to this place and the people I have so much respect for.
Sorry. Growing up in Bangor area, the university has always been a part of our lives. From the field trips, studying at Folger Library, visiting friends, attending performances and athletic events, UMaine has always been foundational. In addition to Suzi and me, many of our friends and family have benefited from all that UMaine has to offer. From a business owner's perspective, Miller's Restaurant's success was tied deeply to UMaine. Many of our employees were students working their way through school. Many regular customers were employed by the university. And for any events, athletic, the arts, especially commencement, where every table was booked, thank you for that, Miller's reaped the benefits that the university provides to our community. For all the university has given to our family, we are pleased to give back to the institution that means so much to so many. One area that my father felt strongly about, and he contributed to, was the success of the Collins Center for the Arts. To continue his legacy, Suzi and I created a fund specifically for the advancement and success of Miller's Cafe at the CCA. It was named Miller's Cafe at my father's request to continue the legacy of the restaurant. Suzi told me that I wasn't supposed to add this part, but my dad, if anybody remembers him, did not really like the attention. But it was really important for that one naming. It was very important to him to have that done. So I think about that every time I walk by that sign. We also wanted to help students attend the University of Maine with that intent that they may stay in the surrounding communities and the state. We decided to create a fund at UMaine that will assist students attending Eastern Maine Community College who are transferring to the University of Maine to continue their pursuit of a degree. We love attending performances and events at the Collins Center for the Arts, in the Hutchins and Minsky concert halls. We always feel right at home tagging along at UMaine alumni events. Attending football games with the Dilly group is the envy of many. We feel so privileged and humbled to be recipients of this special award. Thank you, Tom, and the entire Alumni Association for this honor.
Let me just say, I'll take a moment of personal privilege, I guess, to say that John is the vice chair of the advisory board at the Collins Center for the Arts. With us tonight is also Chip Hutchins, who is the chair, who received this award last year. Imagine how lucky I am to have two incredible proponents and advocates of the University of Maine, and they are not, neither of whom are alums. So I'm a lucky guy. Congratulations again tonight, John and Suzi. The Suzanne K. Hart 68 Alumni Service Award is awarded to an alumnus with a long-standing history of leadership and service of promoting and supporting the University of Maine Alumni Association.
I became aware of Meredith when I was in college and knew her name because she was involved in student government and other kinds of activities. But we never crossed paths until I joined the sorority that she was in, Alpha Phi. And that's really the bond that was created when we became sorority sisters and has resulted in a lifetime friendship. I think that one of the things that really I admire about her and am always been impressed with is how she connects the communities that she belongs to. She not only is very adamant about our class being an active participant in the university community, she also took the time to help her mom with her class activities. When her mom got older, Meredith would organize their meetings and help them make sure that they were all together in Southern Maine for the Alumni Club. And so she just really embodied that connection of community and making sure that everyone who wanted to connect could connect. She understands the value of the University of Maine in the state and is always looking for opportunities to promote it and move the university forward in a way that is positive in the public eye.
Meredith has just got a tremendous energy, whether it was in the legislature, whether it's working against breast cancer, whether it's advocating for what Maine is and what Maine can be. Whether it's as a parent, as a friend, as a contributor, she's just a force of nature. She is just a generally passionate person about what goes on here, and her contributions to the state have been legendary. She has built into her DNA what it really means to be a black bear, and what that means is that we serve others. We do for the greater good, we think about the common good, and we think about communitarianism, and we do this all in support of making the world a better place. And that's what everybody they know it about Meredith, and it's just who she is.
It's hard to find an effort in
Maine that Meredith hasn't been involved in some way. I mean, it really is. She's involved in so much and in so many ways. But she's also a starter. She makes things happen. She's one of those people in the community that sees an issue, a challenge, and says, I'll jump in. She doesn't have to jump into something that's already moving forward. In fact, she's likely the catalyst who really creates the spark and makes it all happen. And certainly around cancer work, she's done a ton. That's what she's best known for, I think, in the area. Whether it was stringing bras across the Casco Bay Bridge, or the Try for a Cure, or work with Maine Cancer Foundation in sort of bringing it back and raising millions and millions of dollars for Maine. She is a Black Bear through and through. She has been supportive. She's always supportive of the University of Maine and its profile in Southern Maine, because that's where she and I both live now. People always want Meredith around. She is a person who's great fun and exudes an incredible energy that is really, you don't see often.
I have the unique perspective of 38 years of watching her selflessly commit to UMaine and giving back in so many different ways. And I know it starts with her, time at the university itself when she was a student and getting involved in helping out the university in a lot of different ways. And I know that carried on well beyond after she graduated. She's always willing to make time for other people. It's a quality that I've always admired about her. It's something that I look up to about her. I believe she's gone way, way, way above and beyond, any commitment anybody would have expected of her to do in serving the university. And I believe she'll be continuing to do that for many, many years beyond that. UMaine means the world to her. She bleeds blue, as we like to say. I'm a UMaine alumni myself because of her. I think I'm fourth generation for my family to attend. I'm just really proud of her. I'm so excited that she's going to be a recipient of this award. I can't think of anybody that's more deserving. I hope I get to be there this night during the event. And if I don't get to make it, I just want to let her know that I love her to death and she's the inspiration. And I can't thank her enough for it.
President and CEO of the University of Maine Foundation, who will now present the Suzanne K. Hart 68 Alumni Service Award to Meredith Burgess. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Meredith. Happy birthday to you.
Oh my gosh, I get to be serenaded by and Emily. Thank you, honey. Good evening, everybody. This is a little over the top here. Jeff, thank you to the University of Maine Foundation, the Alumni Association. Oh my gosh, and your family story is amazing. All of your stories. And Mike, it's been such an honor to get to know you over the years as well. Congratulations. Dr. Dill, we'll talk about you later. We have so many different bonds in this room, and I think that's really what this is all about, is connections and bonds. I am so lucky that my parents came to the University of Maine. They're both graduates of the class of 41. And as a little kid, I was brought here on a fairly regular basis and walked around and said, this is it. This is where you'll go. So my grandfather came here in I think 1916. He was a Sigma Nu. My dad was a SAE. My mom was a Chi-O. I was told to check them out, but somehow I ended up with Alpha Phi. And Alpha Phi is like, what, #1 now on campus? Or something. I'm so excited. It was not that. Anyway, I had this very strange thing about Orono. It was like, how things when you're told you're supposed to do something, and you kind of go, but I want to make up my own mind. So for some crazy reason, driving home, so my parents were raised in Madison, Maine. And do you know that for about 5 or 10 years around that, out of Madison in the 30s, every single person from Madison High School went to college. You know, and it was an amazing thing. And some wonderful, wonderful people came from the greater Madison area. And when I came to Orono, they said, oh, and your cousin's there. I was like, oh, cool. You know, the cousins that lived in Portland. So I grew up in Camden. Portland, you know, we would go there. It was like a long drive. I don't know. And in Camden, you come this way. You come to Bangor. Anyway, we would come to Portland, and we would see the cousins, but our favorite ones were the Ingalls. And there was a big, big, big family. Anyway, so my big cousin, Lee Ingalls, softly, you were up on the hill, I think, when I was here. I was the first class of women to be in Dunn Hall. I survived. I moved over to Hancock. It's just it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And my parents were very, very proud. And Sarah and a few of you tonight have mentioned my parents. They just really were so grateful to the University of Maine for giving them the education. And my mother's parents were extremely supportive as well. So I'm third generation. I have 3 beautiful boys, and I convinced one of them to get here, and that was Matt, you saw on the film, and Matt is not here tonight. He's got some fellow classmates here tonight that wish he was here, but we will we'll work on him. And he has 1 child, so we'll have to see how this is going to work out. In the meantime, I want to thank my partner, Doug Stewart, who is here. He flew home from Florida just a couple days ago so he could be here. And my son, Andrew Burgess, is here, and his beautiful wife, Ellie, and the 2 of them met at Roger Williams, so it was meant to be. I tried to get all the kids to come here. Andrew's actually in a couple of those pictures that you just saw as a little guy. And I used to drag them to all the University of Maine events I could possibly do, but it's all wonderful, and the 2 of them, thank you for coming up here tonight. And I want to also thank my dear friend Allison, who made the trip, and wonderfully, we have Daniel here, who is just finishing his freshman year, and it's been a wonderful year, and I'm so happy about that. They were very excited, and I said, yes, you're going to get to be a black bear. So it's just been a wonderful, the different programs, and it was 25 years ago this year I was diagnosed with cancer, and it was a crazy experience. I've written a book, and I promised that it's going to come out this year. And I was told by my mother that I could never print it or publish it because it was just not ladylike. And it's called Breast Cancer in the Single Woman, and it's called Dating Without Boobs. So there. Yes, this is my stomach. But you know, I got a man anyway. It's all been great. Thank you all very much. Thank you for this award. Thank you for the Alumni Association. Thank you for the foundation, for all of you. And Lee, so fun. Look at this. The world is round. We're back here. Happily, though, we're staying at the hotel and not in our dorms. It's all wonderful. Thank you very, very much.
Emily has more titles than anybody I know. They include representative, senator, minority leader, executive director. I'm not making these up. This is absolutely true. Master's degree, doctoral candidate, business owner, Spirit of Maine recipient, vice president of the class of 2002, and my favorite, the Speaker of my house, Emily Kane.
This has been an amazing evening. I'm Emily Kane, class of 2002. I am also Danny's wife, and I am a member of the Board of Trustees. And so with many hats, I am in a spirit of awe this evening as I listened to Kelsey and her story of inspiring so many students. I wish you had been my teacher. And to the Morrison family, Danny and I between us have 5 UMaine alums, and we want to have more. You're inspiring us to get on it in our family. Mike Shepard covered me when he wrote for the Maine campus, and I was a young 24 or 25-year-old state legislator. He came to the State House at my invitation when he was a student, then covered me as a writer for the Bangor Daily News when I ran for Congress, and is one of the brightest and smartest voices in Maine politics and Maine journalism now. John and Suzi Miller are friends and fellow passionate supporters of the arts like I am. I would not be here at the University of Maine if it were not for the Collins Center for the Arts and the School of Performing Arts. Meredith and I served in the legislature together. We are friends. I have done the Try for the Cure. She is an inspiration to everyone who she encounters. And now and I will tell you, Jim Dill is going to get his due in a minute. I sort of wish I could do it because I have a lot of Jim Dill stories. Jim Dill and I served in the legislature together. He is a dear friend, sort of an unlikely friend. If you know him and you know me, you're like, that doesn't make sense. But Jim and I are diehard friends and co-conspirators in our support for the University of Maine and in making the world a better place. And it is now with great humility that I talk with you about the Distinguished Maine Professor Award, which is really why I'm up here tonight. Because in the early 1960s, a man named Mike Roy and members of the class of 1942 established an endowment to annually recognize one member of the University of Maine faculty. They named the honor the Distinguished Maine Professor Award, and the award criteria was based solely on the university's land-grant tradition of teaching, research, and public service. In 2012, Mike Roy and his remaining classmates from the class of 1942 passed the torch to my class, the class of 2002, and asked us to take responsibility for keeping the endowment well-fueled. The Alumni Association has also taken a financial interest in making sure that this award and those honorees, past and present, are celebrated for the roles that they have played and continue to play in elevating the University of Maine's quality, value, and reputation. And we are especially grateful to the Alumni Association board member and my personal good friend and fellow UMaine honors grad, Charles Stanhope, for his additional sponsorship of tonight's award and this presentation. Charles also chaired the selection committee that chose tonight's recipient. And from the selection of the very first Distinguished Maine Professor in 1963, the University of Maine Alumni Association has overseen the annual selection of the award recipient. And tonight, we are celebrating the 61st anniversary of this prestigious recognition. Nominations are made by deans across the University of Maine. A committee of alumni and past award recipients rigorously reviews, discusses, and ranks the nominations based on their contributions, again, to the areas of teaching, research, and public service. The individual with the highest overall score is deemed the award recipient that year. And in addition to a financial award of $4,200, an homage to the class of 1942, if you will, the class started a tradition of presenting a distinctive blazer and a unique medallion to be worn with their academic regalia at commencement and on special occasions. Each year, the newest Distinguished Maine Professor is also invited to address graduates at commencement, which will be next weekend, and their name is added to a perpetual plaque in Folger Library. The College of Distinguished Maine Professors is an elite group. That's what happens when you just add one new member each year. And we are fortunate to have several past recipients of the award present tonight, and I'd like you to meet them. So I'd like to ask our Distinguished Maine Professors to please stand wherever you are seated, and I will share your names, and please remain standing and hold your applause until I get through this distinguished list. From 1991, Dr. Steve Norton. From 2004, Dr. Eric Landis. From 2005, Dr. Robert Strang. From 2011, Dr. Alfred Bushway, class of 1968. 2018, Dr. Francis Drummond. 2019, Dr. Sandra Karen, class of 79 and class of 82. From 2020, Dr. Richard Powell. and from 2022, Dr. Daniel Sandweiss. Please join me in thanking them for their countless contributions to our students, our university, and our state. And check out those blazers. I mean, those blazers are good looking. And with that, in our look at the blazer, it is now time to introduce our 2024 Distinguished Maine Professor Award winner, Dr. Sandra Butler.
So I met Sandy. She's on our executive committee as the director of the School of Social Work. So as such, she's on my direct leadership team. And so Sandy's one of the first people that I met here at UMaine. I think her compassion and empathy was clear from day one, and I really appreciated that. But I think one of the things that is remarkable to me is the mentorship that she's provided, that service of mentorship. And that's included really inspiring mentorship to her students, but also really true mentorship of new faculty. When you look at her research, she has chosen to study groups in Maine which are the most vulnerable. And that research has been remarkably impactful, and she's been able then to translate that into policy changes within the state. And then those policy changes actually have been adopted nationally in some cases. She's served UMaine for 33 years. 9 of those she served either as the director or interim director of the School of Social Work, so quite a leadership position. She spent 17 dedicated years developing the Masters of Social Work, which is really a remarkable program to the state, but also one of the strongest graduate programs at UMaine.
Sandy is incredibly humble, so many of us don't even know all the things that she has done in her professional career. The first word that comes to mind is grace. She is compassionate. She has spent her life's work advocating for people who live in marginalized and oppressed communities, been an advocate for women. She has inspired other people to want to do that work, to be out in the policy field, to be making those big picture changes. She's a role model for all of us. It's been a privilege to be able to work alongside her. She's just genuine and the best.
I met Sandy in 2004 when I moved here from Hawaii and transferred my master's in social work studies from that state's university to this one's. I completed that degree here with Sandy guiding and encouraging me both generously and closely as she oversaw an independent study that I undertook teaching yoga in a Maine prison. She became a vital mentor for me then. And our friendship and contact continued over the past 20 years as my life took odd turns through various parts of the world and various tragedies, bringing us into very close relationship once again as I paused, and then began again my doctoral studies here in Maine. I feel that she honors the dignity of every person she touches.
I couldn't be more pleased to congratulate Professor Sandra Butler on being named the 2024 Distinguished Maine Professor, who has been a member of the faculty here at the University of Maine for 32 years. Sandra Butler is such a model faculty person here at our university because all 3 parts of the university's mission, teaching, research, and public engagement and service, are embodied in the work that Sandra does. Dr. Butler brings her research knowledge into her teaching in ways that students applaud and that helps those students become better leaders, better social workers, and better policymakers. Most importantly, I think, of all of the wonderful things that Dr. Butler does is the influence that her research has on public policy. She testifies regularly before the state legislature, she is a national expert, and she is making a difference in the state of Maine and well beyond that will last for a very long time here.
So being selected as the 2024 Distinguished Maine Professor has been the most profound honor of my career. I'm grateful to the Alumni Association and the selection committee for this recognition. I know that other nominated professors were all outstanding, scholars and teachers. We have so many of them here at the University of Maine. I offer particular thanks to Mr. Charles Stanhope and for the blazer for sponsoring the award this year and for chairing the selection committee. I'm grateful to the UMaine class of 1942 for creating the endowment and for the award, and to the class of 2002, including Emily Kane, who once spoke in my class, at least once, maybe more than once, for the additional support of the award. My partner, Suzanne, who is with me tonight, reminded me that she was also a part of the class of 2002. So this is one of the many ways she has supported my career over the past 28 years we've been together. And I didn't know when I wrote these prepared remarks that 12 of my former students and my colleagues would be here tonight. They totally surprised me. They totally floored me. Susan and I, when we were driving here today, were both a little bit introverted, and we were trying to figure out how we were going to make it through the social hour, much less 3 hours of dinner. And then here were these 12 people, and I can't see well enough to do an Alola and have you each stand up and let me tell you their history, but I'm just so grateful, just so grateful. Let's see. I've experienced the honor of receiving the Distinguished Maine Professor Award as validation of my research agenda, which has focused, as was said in the video, on the lives of marginalized populations, marginalized due to difficult economic circumstances, gender, age, sexual minority status, and the effects of social programs and policies on their lives. The award also feels like a nod of support to my years of encouraging social work students to nurture their passion for social, racial, economic, and environmental justice, and to direct at least some of their energies towards legislative advocacy. I've had a rich career at the University of Maine, and I feel so fortunate I landed here 33 years ago as a newly minted PhD from the University of Washington in Seattle. My draw to Maine was two-pronged. I'm having a hard time seeing here in a second. Was two-pronged. First, as a 22-year-old, a human ecology graduate from Carleton College in Minnesota, I discovered that Maine was the only state at the time that had an apprenticeship program in organic farming through the Maine Organic Farmers and Gardeners Association. And organic farming at that time was what I thought I wanted to do. I came and worked on a beautiful farm in breathtakingly gorgeous town of Penobscot in Hancock County. And of course I fell in love with the state, even if my skills in organic gardening never progressed very far, I have to say. I eventually left the idyllic life to live, work, and go to school in various places across the country and outside of the country. But 11 years later, I was lured back by an advertised position at the School of Social Work here at UMaine. Beyond my fond memories of living on the farm in Penobscot, my second reason for being drawn to this position was the amazing group of young feminist assistant professors on the social work faculty, and the interesting and engaged students that I met during my campus interview. It felt like a dream job, and it has been a dream job. Over my tenure at UMaine, the School of Social Work has been situated in 3 different colleges. First, we were in the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences, and Dean Julia Watkins, who was a social worker, welcomed me here in 1991. At some point, there was a restructuring, as is typical at universities, and we found ourselves in the College of Business, Public Policy, and Health, I think with Bob Strang, if I recall. That too eventually disbanded, and the School of Social Work went shopping for a college we wanted to join. We knew the School of Nursing had joined the College of Natural Sciences, Forestry, and Agriculture, NSFA, and we knew that the dean at the time, Ed Ashworth, had a solid reputation of being fair and kind. So we decided to woo him to accept us under the NSFA umbrella. Ultimately, he did, though I think he was more than a little ambivalent toward our proposal, as we were quite different from the other units in the college. Well, the School of Social Work has always felt welcome in NSFA, if a bit of a misfit, by all the deans. We have felt particularly supported by current Dean Diane Rowland, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight because she took a tumble yesterday, I gather. One illustration of this support has been the renaming of the college to the College of Earth, Life, and Health Sciences. Moreover, that dean and associate deans, two of whom are here tonight, Sue Sullivan and George Kreiner, chose to nominate a faculty member from social work for this award. And this speaks of their embrace of all the units in this large and diverse college, and I am humbled for that support and recognition. So thank you, Tom Pico and the Alumni Association, Charles Stanhope and the Selection Committee, Diane Rowland, Sue Sullivan and George Kreiner and the other associate deans of ELH, and the class of 1942 and 2002, including Suzanne, for this amazing honor, and for my 12 colleagues and former students, who I didn't put into my remarks, but I know are Dara, and Anne, I can't really see, and Elizabeth, and Judy, and Kelly, and I think Lauren drove 2 hours to be here, and Teresa, and I think Len and Diane, and did I get it all? Leah. So thank you all. Thank you, everybody. This is such an honor. I can't even tell you. It has added new meaning for me regarding my career of teaching, scholarship, and service at the University of Maine. Thank you.
It won't be too rough, says the recipient of the next award, which is the Alumni Career Award. This is the most prestigious and distinguished alumni award presented to an alumnus who has had an outstanding achievement in their profession, business, civic, or in other public service areas.
I was trying to remember when I first met Professor Dill. It might have been at a football game. It might have been at a tailgating event at the president's house. It might have been at the diagnostic lab as he was giving a tour and showing us particularly all about the ticks. It might have been when he was serving as an usher at a hockey game. Jim Dill is an amazing public servant, an amazing educator. He has been a leader in Augusta, in the legislature for many years, in making a difference for the state of Maine and advocating for what's important both to the state and to the university. Jim Dill is tireless in his efforts to make a difference. His work on the school board in Old Town, his work helping to guide scientists and researchers in their efforts to better understand ticks and their impact on health in the state of Maine and beyond. Jim Dill really is a person who makes a difference. He is indeed a distinguished alumnus, and I couldn't be more pleased than to congratulate him today.
What a great choice for the Alumni Award this year, the Alumni Achievement Award at the university, Dr. James Dill. A tremendous career at the university in research and contribution to the health and well-being of the people of Maine and the country, but also a parallel career in the Maine legislature, which has been very productive and effective. In fact, I have to tell you that all of you know, I'm sure, the origin of the word politics goes back to the Greek, poly meaning many, and ticks meaning small blood-sucking insects. I can't think of a better chance to tell that joke than when I'm talking about a guy that's done so much work in vector-borne diseases. Jim, thank you for what you've done. Thank you for the contributions you've made. Congratulations on the recognition that this award conveys. And I know that you're going to continue to make those contributions. You're going to remain engaged. We're all proud of you. Thanks for all you've done and all you will do.
First word that comes to mind when thinking about Jim Dill is service. I mean, he just has that heart of service across the board, whether it's the school board, whether it's Quanahs, whether it's, working within the county, working within the state legislature, working within his role within Extension. He just has that heart of service and wanting to do so much for all the communities that he's involved in. We're here in the University of Maine Diagnostic and Research Lab, TIC Lab. I feel like when you think about Jim Dill's work in the state, he's been our pest management specialist for Extension for over 30 years. He really was integral in building this lab, both in the TIC lab and the Diagnostic and Research Lab. And that's really what Jim has been all about, is how do we best serve the people of the state of Maine. He could have done a lot of different things throughout his career, but the fact that he focused them in the way that he has, really a testament to how much the University of Maine means to him, both as an alumni and certainly as an employee. And so to be recognized by the University of Maine Alumni Association with this award, I think is absolutely perfect. And I can't think of anybody who's more worthy of this honor.
I've known Dr. Dill since we were in the 7th grade together, and we have been friends ever since. Jim and I started at UMaine in 1968. We lived in the same dormitory. We joined the same fraternity. He was in my wedding, and we've been friends ever since. As a former board chair of the University of Maine Alumni Association, I've been involved with this award for a lot of years. Given the situation the state is in now with invasive pests and his involvement in pest management for 40 years, the legacy that he leaves for the people of the state of Maine is boundless. There are things that he has helped work on and discover will be with us for a long time. If anybody deserves it, he does. Jim Dill has devoted his life to the University of Maine and the state of Maine, and we should all be proud of that. Oh, and by the way, I have in my hand a 16-ounce can of J.D. Brown Ale, named for Dr. Dill. He and Abe Firth of Orono Brewing Company got together and brewed this beer, and part of the proceeds from the sale go back to his TIC lab. So good on you, lad. I hope that at your celebratory event this evening you have been able to partake of this, but if you don't, I'll sample some for you right now. J.D. Brown Ale. Enjoy your evening. Now I have to drink the whole thing.
Would you please help me welcome Ray Baldock, President and CEO of WBRC, who will now present the 2024 Career Award to Dr. Jim Dill.
Well, I hope you all had a good evening. And let me see, I'll have to get my little cheat sheets out, and also, unfortunately, my glasses, because the lights have been dimmer as I got older for some reason. But, well, first off, I want to say to Meredith, I, like your dad, am also an SAE, so we have that in common. And another thing I want to say is, as the day had progressed, Emily and I have been texting back and forth most of the day on some pest problems, but so about 4:30, I said, I really got to go because I got to write my speech for tonight. And she said, well, that's simple enough. You just started out by thanking Emily Kane. So thank you, Emily Kane. I don't know why, but thank you, Emily. All right. So certainly I want to congratulate all the award winners here tonight and past award winners. And I'd also like to thank everyone who put in time and effort into selecting all the awardees, and thank my nominators, Greg Jameson and Jim Mullen. And now you probably hope that I'm done and we can all go home now. But when you get first elected to legislature, and it may even been Emily who said it to me, you take your seat in the chamber and you kind of look around and say, wow, there's a really steep learning curve here. So there's a little joke that they tell us. They say in the first 2 to 3 months you're here, you look around and you say, what am I doing here? And the next 2 or 3, after that, you look around and say, what are you doing here? So I just want to say that, right now I'm at the stage where, what am I doing here tonight? I mean, I really, really appreciate this, and I will not get to the, the point where I'm going to say, what are you doing here? Because you all certainly, truly deserve the awards that you got tonight. So when I was first contacted by Tom Pico in January asking if I would accept the award, I thought and thought and thought, and after about 2 seconds I said, sure. But I'm really humbled. And he said probably in a couple weeks that I would get an email from him telling me exactly what was going to happen. So it was 2 or 3 weeks later, I actually did get the email. And what it said was, what you'd expect. Date, time, what to wear, don't drink too much, behave myself. So first I had to look to make sure it wasn't from my wife. But then it says, you have to give an acceptance speech not to exceed 30 minutes. And I'm thinking, 30 minutes? Even though it's a really interesting topic, and I know a lot about it, it's like, oh, wow, I don't want to talk about myself for 30 minutes. Even though I do make my living speaking to students, legislators, farmers, and just about anyone who will listen to me on various topics, bed bugs, ticks you've heard, and other creepy crawlies, which I won't get into since we just finished our dinners. But, and often a lot longer than 30 minutes, but, I was a little nervous, 30 minutes. And I'm the last speaker. No one wants to listen. So as I began to think about it, what I was going to say for that long, my thoughts drifted back to my undergraduate days at UMO. Yep, we called it UMO. As I was thinking about my freshman year, I remembered we had a few requirements that we had. First was our freshman mug book. And any of you probably remember what that was it as pictures of all the freshmen, incoming freshmen, and a little blurb about them. It was more, I think, an upperclassman dating book rather than a freshman mug book. But if only I had the foresight to turn that mug book into Facebook, I'd be really, really wealthy today. But of course, there was no internet, and the computers then were about a quarter the size of this room, so it would have been tough. So we also had to take, in your freshman year, a whole year of phys ed, unless you played a sport. So I figured, what the heck? So in the spring, I played football for Coach Walt Abbott. I'm not sure that was the best trade I made for getting out of a class, playing football. And we also had to take a speech class, which I'll get back to in a minute. But the most important thing was, if I can get it out of my pocket, the ubiquitous freshman beanie, which we were supposed to wear at all times, never to leave our side. So we all, was given one of these. So here it is. I still have mine, and oddly enough, so does my wife. We don't have our mug books, but we do have our freshman beanies. All right, so let's go back to speech class for a minute. We had 2 professors of speech at the time, Herschel Bricker, and a brand new first-term professor, Warren Burns. My wife had Herschel Bricker, and I had Burns. And if any of you knew Warren Burns, he had this big, booming voice and a big grin. And he was originally from New Jersey. Now, that's going to be important here in a minute. I still have thoughts of my first speech. It was 2 to 3 minutes long, and I thought I was going to die to speak for 2 or 3 minutes in front of a group. Now I can hardly get my name out in what I do in 2 or 3 minutes. So my first speech was given, and afterwards we had to meet with Dr. Burns for his critique, which was way longer than the speech that we gave. He said to me he says, you have to enunciate and project. And of course, I being from Maine, I had a pretty heavy Maine accent. Certainly very different than his New Jersey one. You know, it was like park the car in Harvard Yard would be, you know, the way I would be saying things. And he said, you know, remember, he said, there are 26 letters in the alphabet. He said that, and he said that R is the operative word here. You seem to be missing the letter R. So then I was told that I would have to give another speech in 3 minutes, and in 3 weeks, and that one would be 5 minutes long. So I go, oh, and I had to report back to him and tell him what it was. So I reported back, and I said, all right, I'm ready. He says, all right, what's it going to be? He said, well, I was talking to one of my classmates, Donner, and my idea was to talk about soda. That was the only time I saw Warren Burns, you know, not lost for words. I said, I found a place for the letter I, you just put it on the end of words. You know? Seemed simple to me. And then all of a sudden, his huge grin came back, and we got along really fine after that. And actually, when I came back to the University of Maine, when I joined Kiwanis, he was in there. He was a Kiwanis member, and we got along. And he actually remembered that exchange from way back then. All right, so back to sweating about my 30-minute speech and working hard on it. It was probably 2 weeks after I received Tom's email. I was ushering a UMaine hockey game, and I ran into Tom. And I said, wow, I'm really concerned about giving a 30-minute acceptance speech. He looked at me like I had two heads and said, 30 minutes? I said, yeah. He said, well, that was either a typo or you read it wrong. It's 3 minutes. So my apologies to all of you, because I prepared a 30-minute speech. And since I prepared it, I got to give it. All right, so to move on, I graduated with a BS in biology and got my master's here in entomology. And I went on to pursue my PhD at Purdue in Indiana. Of course, by now, I thought I was doing a little better with my Maine accent, so I, you know, had a teaching assistantship out there. In my first lab, I walk in, because I was a little nervous, and I go in and I delivered what the lab was going to be about. It took me a few minutes. And I said, are there any questions? And there was a slight pause. And then finally one student raised his hand and said, what did you just say? And there were a few chuckles from the other students. And well, between my accent and my nervousness, I really whipped through that. And they didn't understand a word they said. So I had to explain it all over and a little slower. All right, so I received my PhD and took my first job at Rutgers. You're probably all saying, how do you say Rutgers without R's? Well, I went on to Rutgers, and after a couple of years there, I had a new extension job there, which was on pesticides. One opened up here at the University of Maine, brand new. It was Integrated Pest Management and Pesticide Applicating Training Coordinator. And so here I am. I got that job. Interestingly, when I got here, I was taken to my new office, which was in the Maples, which was the philosophy department. I'm going, wow, what am I doing in the philosophy department? But they gave me a nice large office. I walk in, there's two desks right in the middle, facing each other, and two chairs. That was my office. Well, there was another person that I shared the office when I first got here, who was on a special assignment on a pesticide project, and he was going to retire in about three months. So I never saw much of him, and things progressed from there. And within about 3 years, I had 3 other staff people working for me. So we still were in the same office, but we could only fit 3 desks in it. So every day you came in and hoped somebody wasn't going to be there. Because after playing musical desks, you know, it got a little boring. So we outgrew the Maples, and pest management moved out to 491 College Avenue, which is one of Dick Hill's energy efficient houses. And I got to admit, that was my first time ever that I was in an office that had shag carpeting on the walls. My office had shag carpeting all over the walls. Well, as we continued to expand, we replaced that building and added on to it. And that brings us up to about 2003, when I approached the university with the idea of a new pest management lab building. I was encouraged to work with campus facilities. You came up with the concept and design, figured it was about $3 million. Well, then I started to try and find grant money and that type of thing, which was kind of hard to do. And in 2006, I started applying to MTI for some grants, and after several tries, I finally made it to the final stage. And once I got to the final stage, it was a panel of 5 people, a selection committee, and they were very interested in the topic and very sympathetic, but I was told that I really needed a bond issue to get this passed. So I'm kind of sitting there scratching my head. So I went back to this president and chancellor, and I was told to write a $6 million white paper that was also now to include animal disease diagnostics. It again stalled for a couple of years. So I figured I had to do something drastic. So in 2010, I ran for legislature. And I'll get more of that in a minute. And we got a bond issue passed in 2014 for $8 million, and that's where we are now. So you saw Dr. Carter with the Diagnostic and Research Laboratory. It houses plant pathology, animal pathology, fish pathology research, the tick lab, and of course the insect lab, which started the whole odyssey to begin with. And it was opened in 2019. And it had a price tag of around $11 million and is unique in the country for having all these areas in one university building. Parallel to my university career, as you have heard, I am in Kiwanis, which annually raises about $40,000 for local charities and community activities, and I'm in the legislature. And now I'll get back to why I said that. I really wasn't planning on running for legislature as I was thinking about a bond issue. But I came home from work one day, and all the nomination papers were hanging on my doorknob. And to this very day, I have no idea who put those nomination papers on my doorknob, but it's been an interesting trip, to say the least. I assumed there's probably someone who knew that I was interested in the bond issue, and also that I was community-minded, because I've been on the school board now for 27 years, and I've been the chair for 26. I guess I'm a glutton for punishment there. Well, as you have heard, I may still have some of my Maine accent left. I thought I was pretty well rid of it until a few years ago when the university hired a new dean of extension, Anna Carter, who, incidentally, started her extension career as a scout in the UMaine Extension IPM program. So it's karma, I guess. So finally, I just want to end with, certainly I want to thank, as you saw, J.D. Brown. I want to thank Abe and Heather and working with me on that. And as was said, part of the money from that product does come back to the University of Maine for the tick lab. But I will be working with all the other brewers, so I know there's at least 1 or 2 brewers in here, to do the same exact thing. So finally, again, I would like to thank all the award winners this evening, WBRC, who is this year's sponsor of the Alumni Career Award, and certainly my wife, Jane, who I have known since we were 5 years old. And we went to UMaine together, and who has had to put up with all my shenanigans over the years. Good night, and go blue.
And so ends tonight's Alumni Achievement Awards. To all our winners, congratulations from the College of Our Hearts always, and thank you for supporting the University of Maine. And now, we invite you to stand and join us in singing the Maine Stein Song.